I don't know if y'all remember Irv Gotti on the Drink Champs, right? And they was talking, I think Noriano was asking Irv about cocaine or something. Do you have any cocaine stories? And Irv says to Noriano, y'all want to know who could do some drugs? And they like, who? And this when they on revolt. This nigga say, Puff. Yo, that nigga Puff. Yo, that nigga Puff could do some drugs. This is what Irv Gotti says on Drink Champs. So seeing all this is like, there's no doubt in my mind that this is true, right? But this is once again, going through those doors. The cocaine's going to be in front of you. It ain't weed no more. It's cocaine, it's ecstasy, it's Molly, it's Percocets, it's all kind of drugs. And now for me, I don't take drugs. I don't use drugs. I never use drugs a day in my life. So why am I going to be around them? Why are they going to allow me to see them sniffing the shit if I ain't sniffing? Why am I going to be around them all high on ecstasy and Percocets and everything, and I'm sober? But for y'all, it's just I'm just hating. You know what I'm saying? I'm broke because I don't want to sniff coke. I'm broke because I don't want to pop pills. But these are the things that you got to do to be around the circle, so they know that you ain't gonna tell on them because you're doing what they doing. Right? Now, in this lawsuit, I'm not going to say that everything that she's saying is the truth. I believe a lot of it, but uh some people are pressured into taking drugs just to look cool. Me, it ain't no looking cool. I remember one time Charlemagne told the story about how he was hanging out with some people and they put cocaine in the room. And when it came around to him, he put it on the table. He went like this and swept it on the floor. Like a bunch of niggas is sitting around watching you, and you telling me you sniffed and fake sniffed it and swept it on the floor. So I mean, and then the next time you think you're going to be able to do that, at some point you're going to have to fucking really sniff it because they're going to say, "Hey, nigga, you sniffed with us last night, man. Come on, hit it, man." And they all in your face like this guy hit it. It ain't no sweeping it on the floor. So it's no, nigga, I don't do coke. And I told y'all about the story I went through in Hollywood. And I'll reiterate it in 160 seconds real quick. I'm producing the show out in Hollywood. One of the people on the show said, "Hey, man, hey, you want to party?" And I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I want to party. After the shoot, we're going to party. You want to party? Hell yeah, I want to party." I'm thinking party is say ho, ho, getting up on some ass. They take me to a mansion house, a mansion. So I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be a mansion party. I get in there. Yes, there's people in there. Dude, take me to the back. He pulled out a little doggy bag, a blue cellophane doggy bag. He opened it up. And he was like, "Here." And I'm like, "Fuck is that?" Like, it's fucking cocaine, heroin, pills, ecstasy, Percocet. This motherfucker got a drugstore in a little blue sandwich bag. And he's like, and I'm like, "What's that?" And he's like, "You said you want to party, right?" He's like, you said you want to party, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to party." Oh, party means do hard drugs. I'm from the Bronx, New York. Party to me is a house party. Like us going to dance up on some ass. I didn't know party in California means to do hard drugs. I'm sorry. That nigga's looking at me like, oh shit. I just offered the director and the producer fucking cocaine and pills and shit all. And I'm like, yo, brother. It was a white boy too. Uh, I was like, I'm not here to judge you. I ain't gonna tell nobody. You go ahead and have a good time. I'm gonna go over here, have me a drink, and listen to the music. And that's that. You know what I'm saying? But going through that door, you see that these dudes, they be changed. I don't want to throw nobody under the bus. But if you've been paying attention to a certain podcast and you be seeing one of the hosts around, you can see that that dude he be coked up, sweating like a motherfucker and shit, acting all like weird, and like you can tell he be coked up. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say no names. Y'all know who it is if you pay attention. If you've been around people that do coke and you know, or if you hustled and you know what a cokehead actions are, they movements are, they languages. I'm sure y'all see it. Prior to them going through the door, they wasn't acting like that. Instagram, I'm live on YouTube. We going over the Cassie lawsuit, the facts. Not out here speculating. We going over we reading the lawsuit. So y'all can join us, all right? Please hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We're not done yet with the lawsuit. I had to start my Instagram back over. And the Tunnel documentary is out right now on Amazon Prime. Make sure y'all go check that out. The Hip Hop Nucleus. The Hip Hop Nucleus. The Tunnel documentary is out. The Hip Hop Nucleus on Amazon Prime. Make sure y'all go watch that tonight. "50 years of hip hop." I had to re-release my doc. You know what I mean? You got everybody in there from Jay-Z to Nas, Snoop Dogg, Big Cat, Funk Master Flex, Johnny Walker Red, Mobb Deep, Cormega, Method Man, Redman, Eve, Lil Kim. Oh man, they all in there. All right, make sure y'all check that out. DJ Scratch, the DJ Twins. If they all in there, man, make sure y'all go check that out. Make sure y'all go check that out. The Tunnel documentary is out right now, Amazon Prime. All right, let's get back into this, man. During this trip to Miami, Mr. Combs provided I read that part. All right. So after providing her with drugs, Mr. Combs had sexual intercourse with Ms. Ventura during this trip. Yeah, and they allegedly drugged out that ecstasy, that Molly, that'll make you sleep with a damn dog. From what I'm hearing, I hear it makes you super horny. And if she drunk and high and all that shit, of course he getting that ass. Within 2 years of meeting Mr. Combs, Miss Ventura found herself lured into the immediate circle of her boss, the owner of her record label and one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry. Mr. Combs exerts control over Miss Ventura's career and personal life. From the very start of their relationship, Mr. Combs exerted his powerful influence over Miss Ventura. This dynamic was fueled by a nearly 20-year age difference. Sheesh. He's old enough to date his son. As well as their relative positions in the entertainment industry, Mr. Combs considered it a music mogul and Miss Ventura at the very start of a career as an entertainer. Mr. Combs' aggressive and demanding approach to those he worked with made it impossible for anyone to challenge him. And Miss Ventura soon learned that Mr. Combs insisted on blind loyalty from everyone in his inner circle. Although Mrs. Ventura had saved up some earnings from her young modeling career, Mr. Combs' ostentatious display of wealth was intimidating to her. Mr. Combs paid for things with wads of cash and would repeatedly tell Mrs. Ventura, "Don't worry about money. I have money." Mr. Combs expensed lavish vacations for him and Miss Ventura, purchased a car for her, paid for her apartment, and provided her with extensive amounts of designer clothing. Around 2008 or 2009, Mr. Combs began to rent an apartment in Manhattan for Miss Ventura. The apartment was within walking distance of Mr. Combs' New York residence. He first showed Miss Ventura the apartment by bringing her there along with her parents. Miss Ventura's parents were skeptical of the mogul's display of wealth, but proud of their daughter's newfound success. Around 2010, Mr. Combs similarly paid for an apartment for Miss Ventura in Los Angeles, which was located about 5 minutes away from Mr. Combs' residence. This nigga's a controlling ass nigga right here, boy. God damn. And nigga, she can't move in with you. What the fuck? Well, he do got kids and shit. Well, that don't matter. If she is girl, she is girl. He paid for many of her apartments in California and also purchased a Jaguar for her around 2013 or 2014. All aspects of Miss Ventura's life were controlled by either Mr. Combs or his management companies. Every event Miss Ventura attended, from the travel to the makeup and the clothing, was paid for directly by Mr. Combs and his affiliated companies. There's some girls right now like, she's stupid. What? That nigga could have gave me all the drugs in the world. He bought her a Jaguar? She's stupid. Y'all know some of y'all girls out there saying that right now. Compounding this all-encompassing intrusion into her life, Mr. Combs secured his control over the young and impressionable Miss Ventura by introducing her to the drug-fueled lifestyle that kept her complacent and compliant. Mr. Combs first introduced Miss Ventura to opioids. Is that opioids? Opioids around 2008, and would often have pills and other drugs out in the open like candy. God damn. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs has been addicted to prescription painkillers and took ecstasy frequently. At first, Miss Ventura was giving up the prescription that Mr. Combs received from a doctor in Miami, Florida. Eventually, when Mr. Combs exhausted his supply of pills, he demanded that Miss Ventura procure prescriptions from this Miami doctor in her own name. Mr. Combs also became deeply involved in Miss Ventura's personal life, where his personal staff attended to Miss Ventura's day-to-day travel and other needs, including medical care. On multiple occasions, Mr. Combs had Miss Ventura's personal medical records sent directly to his email address. For instance, when Miss Ventura began experiencing memory loss, potentially due to excessive drug use and or head injuries caused by Mr. Combs' beatings, and described below, her MRI results were provided directly to Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs also repeatedly arranged for his staff to drive Miss Ventura to certain doctor's appointments. In this way, Mr. Combs exerted ownership over Miss Ventura as another example of the ways in which he manipulated Miss Ventura and ensured obedience early on in their. They going straight out to R. Kelly fucking send this nigga to jail, boy. Puff getting ready to go to jail, bro. This ain't gonna be about just no money. Watch, they gonna bring charges up on this motherfucker. And then you give it a week or less. There's gonna be about 3 to 5 more women coming up. Probably 3 and some men. They gonna pop out too. It might be Bentley. You never know who the fuck is gonna be. But some more people about to come, and then it's gonna turn into an R. Kelly situation. In this way, Mr. Combs exerted ownership over Miss Ventura. As an example of the ways in which he manipulated Miss Ventura and ensured obedience early on in their relationship, he asked Miss Ventura what she called her grandfather. When Mr. Ventura said that she referred to her grandfather as Pop Pop, Mr. Combs profusely insisted that Miss Ventura referred to him with that nickname. Ew. The fuck? That's so weird. Mr. Combs and Mrs. Ventura's relationship becomes violent and abusive. What started as a whirlwind of celebrity meetings and drug and alcohol fueled parties, however, quickly turned into frightening and violent. Miss Ventura was also exposed to the extents. Miss Ventura was also exposed to the intense violence that pervaded Mr. Combs' rise to fame. For example, on one occasion when Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura were using drugs together in his home, one of the security staff barged in and announced that Suge Knight, a longtime rival of Mr. Combs, was spotted at Mel's Drive-In Diner in Los Angeles. Mr. Combs began to get dressed, retrieved multiple guns from a safe, and ran out of his home to where he believed Mr. Knight was dining. Miss Ventura became terrified and began to cry. Oh shit, Puff. Nigga, your ass is new moon grass. Oh shit. Oh shit. This is about to tie right into the fucking Tupac shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. This is getting ready to tie right into the Tupac shit. Here it go. Here it go. Oh shit. This is gonna tie right in. That's gonna tie right into the Tupac shit. This shit couldn't have came out at a better time. Oh, he's fucked. He's fucked. Oh, he's so fucked. Oh, he's so fucked. Oh, he's so fucked. He's fucked. He's fucked. Oh, he's fucked. Oh, he's so fucked. Miss Ventura was also exposed to the expense violence that pervaded Mr. Combs to rise to fame. For example, on one occasion, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura were using drugs together in his home. One of the security staff barged in and announced that Suge Knight, a longtime rival of Mr. Combs, was spotted at Mel's Drive-In Diner in Los Angeles. Mr. Combs began to get dressed, retrieved multiple guns from a safe, and ran out of his home to where he believed Mr. Knight was dining. Miss Ventura became terrified and began to cry. On at least two occasions, Mr. Combs demanded that Miss Ventura hold guns in her purse. Miss Ventura had no familiarity with guns and was petrified that the firearm would accidentally go off in her purse. There was no clear reason why Mr. Combs required her to hold his guns, except to reinforce to his young girlfriend that he was violent, powerful, and dangerous. Over the next decade, multiple times each year, Mr. Combs would violently beat Miss Ventura, leaving bruises on her body. After every instance in which he beat Miss Ventura, Mr. Combs used his money and power to orchestrate extensive efforts to hide the evidence of his abuse, including by hiding Miss Ventura in hotels for days at a time to let her bruises heal. In one such instant, after a party with Jay-Z, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura repeatedly in an escalade, including by kicking and hitting her. He forced her out of the vehicle on Fifth Avenue in New York City. She was eventually able to hail a cab and get to her apartment in Manhattan, where she cried in fear, realizing there was no one she could tell about what happened at the hands of this incredibly powerful man. She spent the subsequent 3 days hiding in her apartment. In January 2009, after Combs learned that Miss Ventura spoke to another music manager at a party in Los Angeles, he became enraged. She had hoped speaking to this manager would allow her to further grow her career and that Mr. Combs would be happy for her. But instead, he became extremely angry and pulled her out of the club where the party was taking place. In the car leaving the club, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura, pushing her into the corner of the vehicle and stomping on her face. Oh, shit. Mr. Combs' security staff, Roger Barnes, tried to stop the beating, but was unable to de-escalate the situation. When the car arrived at Mr. Combs' residence, Miss Ventura attempted to run away, but Mr. Combs followed her and proceeded to kick her in the face. Miss Ventura was bleeding profusely and was ushered into Mr. Combs' home, where she began to throw up from the violent assault. Oh, shit. She making me want to beat this nigga ass. Upon recognizing the damage he had done and the physical evidence of his abuse, Mr. Combs panicked and forced his staff to bring Miss Ventura to a hotel suite at the London Hotel in Los Angeles, where she was required to stay for a week. During this stay, as her injuries from the beating healed, Miss Ventura began to fully realize that Mr. Combs' tremendously loyal network not only knew about and witnessed his assault, but also these witnesses were not willing to do anything meaningful to stop Mr. Combs' behavior. She recognized that she was powerless and that reporting Mr. Combs to the authority would not alter Mr. Combs' status or influence, but would merely give Mr. Combs another excuse to hurt her. While in the hotel, she asked to go home to her parents, but Mr. Combs wouldn't let her leave. She lied to her mother when asked about an online gossip forum that reported the assault. Mr. Combs proceeded to instruct her. Mr. Combs proceeded to instruct his assistant to purchase excessive amounts of gifts for Ms. Ventura, which were delivered to the hotel room where she remained trapped. Ms. Ventura was terrified, isolated, and unable to see a pathway out of Mr. Combs' abusive hold on her life. She found herself becoming numb to the abuse she was experiencing and became entirely beholden to Mr. Combs' demands. She began to blindly follow his instructions out of fear of again being on the receiving end of a vicious beating. By Mr. Combs' own admission, his relationship with Miss Ventura was like Bobby and Whitney, a clear acknowledgement of unequal power dynamic and excessive domestic violence that permeated their relationship. From the outside looking in, Miss Ventura had heard others refer to her relationship with Mr. Combs as akin to Ike and Tina, her violent and abusive partner, who also her label and therefore held her future success in his hands, had fully exerted control over her aspect of her life, over every aspect of her life. Mr. Combs forces Miss Ventura into sex trafficking. Within a few months of beginning a romantic relationship with 40-year-old Mr. Combs, the 20-year-old Miss Ventura felt beholden to his whims and demands. While in New York, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura that he wanted to engage in a fantasy of his called voyeurism. Mr. Combs said that it would turn him on if he saw Miss Ventura with another dick. The first time Mr. Combs hired a man and brought the man to his home in Los Angeles, the man, Mr. Combs, and Miss Ventura wore masquerade masks and ingested drugs. Mr. Combs directed Miss Ventura to perform sexual acts with the man while Mr. Combs watched them. He masturbated while he directed Miss Ventura and the man to do specific sexual acts. The entire encounter lasted multiple days. Multiple days? Mr. Combs began to call the arrangement a freak off or faux. He would repeatedly tell Miss Ventura random moments that he wanted a faux, and Miss Ventura was eventually expected to facilitate the location and the hiring of the male sex workers. At certain points during Miss Ventura and Mr. Combs' relationship, he would insist on a faux weekly. Mr. Combs would repeatedly tell Miss Ventura that this was practice was our thing and our secret, that this practice was our thing and our secret. Faux would often take place in hotel suites, include at the Trump International Hotel in Columbus Circle, La Meridia in Beverly Hills, the London Hotel in Los Angeles, the Intercontinental Century City, the Intercontinental Atlanta, the Intercontinental New York City, the Warren Hotel in New York, and in Miami, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in New York, and in Miami, the Fontainebleau in Miami, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in New York and in Miami, the Fontainebleau in Miami, the Beverly Hills Hotel, and Shutters on the Beach in Los Angeles. That's where the RICO gonna come in, the sex trafficking. On one occasion around 2013, Mr. Combs had a faux set up at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York City, after which he was charged with tens of thousands of dollars in damages by the hotel. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Tony Fletcher, paid the invoice charged by the hotel. Miss Victoria was eventually instructed to use websites and escorts services to find male sex workers to participate in the foes. Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura to search for large black penises on the website. Oh my God. Lord have mercy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Woo! Mm. Lord have mercy. Diddy, Lord have mercy. Diddy like his niggas packing, allegedly. That nigga said, look for large black penises on the website. Lord have mercy. I gotta start wearing baggy jeans again, man. God damn it. These niggas is looking at niggas' packages. Sometimes Mr. Combs would pay to fly male sex workers to his location, including to multiple cities in the United States as well as abroad. He required Ms. Ventura and his staff to help him make these arrangements. Oh, they getting ready to get this nigga for Rico, bro. Oh, shit. Puff, you getting ready to go to jail, bro. You better go ahead and start tying up these little affairs you got out here, nigga. This shit is over. Mr. Combs' sisters will help to set up foes, including by setting up the hotel suites with baby oil and Astroglide. What the fuck is Astroglide? I would hate to look it up. Astroglide. Judging by the name, that shit got to be some super shit that's gliding into. Oh God, Puffy. Astroglide, bro. What the fuck is Astroglide? I'm not gonna even look that up. I'm gonna leave that one y'all can look up. If I see baby oil, I already know Astroglide. That shit got to be some type of super lube or some shit. I don't know, man. Astroglide, boy. Now they got details like this. You gotta believe it. Cookie, what's up, baby? Somebody over here said that's lube, choke. Mr. Combs always supplied Miss Ventura and the sex workers with copious amounts of drugs before and during the foes. Miss Ventura was given ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol, and excessive amounts during foes, which allowed her to disassociate during these horrific encounters. It became commonplace to get 4 fluids in the days after the foes to recover from the excessive substance pushed upon her. Miss Ventura was required to dress up in lingerie for a foe, and Mr. Combs insisted she wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men he hired. Oh, God, Puffy! Oh, my God. Puffy. Oh, shit. Miss Ventura was required to dress up in lingerie for an foe, and Mr. Combs insisted she wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men he hired to have sex with her. During the foe, Mr. Combs would instruct Miss Ventura to pour excessive amounts of oil all over herself. Mr. Combs would then instruct Miss Ventura and the sex worker to speak to each other, and then would specifically tell Miss Ventura where to touch the sex workers. Mr. Combs would say things like, grab that big black dick and ask her, how does it feel? As he directed her to perform for him. During the Foles was freak offs if you just tuned in. During the freak offs, in addition to directing Miss Ventura and masturbating, Mr. Cobb would use his phone, laptop, and tablet to film Miss Ventura having sex with the hired sex worker. He treated the forced encounter as a personal art project, adjusting the candles he used for lighting to frame the videos he took. Oh, this thing is about to be R. Kelly. While Ms. Ventura quickly deleted any photographs or videos of sex acts if they were taken on her phone, Mr. Combs repeatedly made clear that he retained many videos of Ms. Ventura during freak-offs. Even when she deleted the videos, Mr. Combs would tell Ms. Ventura that he was able to recover deleted videos from her devices. On one occasion, he sat next to her on the flight and made her watch a video that she thought she had deleted, reinforcing her inability to escape and the immense power he held over her. Mr. Combs would pay the male sex workers a few $1,000s in cash for their services. During some freak-offs, Mr. Combs would become extremely intoxicated and would hit Ms. Ventura in front of the male sex workers. Ms. Ventura was repulsive that Mr. Combs demands, but between the physical beating and recognizing his incredible power and incredible temper, Ms. Ventura became petrified of her partner and boss and felt that she could not say no. He would present her with lavish gifts prior to or in the middle of the freak-offs, seemingly acknowledging the ways in which these forced sexual encounters constituted work for Miss Ventura and that he needed to compensate her for this work. At one point, he had given her so many designer bracelets for freak-offs, and immediately following his brutal beatings, that she felt that she was shackled by his presence. Frequently, her anxiety before a freak-off would become so great that she would become physically ill, sometimes to the point of vomiting. While kneeling over the toilet, Mr. Combs would shame her into performing for him, eventually forcing her to get up and proceed with the encounter. She knew firsthand that telling Mr. Combs that she did not want to engage in freak-offs was met with anger and violence. In addition to any suggestion that Miss Ventura will refuse the freak-off or otherwise report Mr. Combs, abuse was met with ultimatums by Mr. Combs, who would say that Miss Ventura could not go to the police because she had a lot to lose. Around August 2015, for example, in the middle of a surprise birthday dinner for Miss Ventura's 29th birthday, Mr. Combs insisted that Miss Ventura leave the party and go to a hotel for a freak-off. When she expressed that she did not want to go, Mr. Combs had Miss Ventura cornered by his security staff in order to force her to leave with him. After this freak-off, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura went back to his hotel room that Miss Ventura was staying at, where some of Miss Ventura's friends were already hanging out. Mr. Combs was severely intoxicated, and at that point during the night, picked up one of Miss Ventura's friends like a child and dangled the friend over the balcony of the 17th floor in the hotel suite. Oh, shit. Miss Ventura and her friends were scared by Mr. Combs' erratic behavior, but Miss Ventura was heavily sedated because of the drugs she took to participate in the freak-off and therefore was unable to respond to Mr. Combs' terrifying behavior. The freak-off became work for Miss Ventura, and despite her prostitutions or protations. Mr. Combs insisted on protestations. Mr. Combs insisted on these intricately staged and forced sexual encounters between Miss Ventura and various male sex workers. Miss Ventura tries to escape Mr. Combs' abuse. Anytime she tried to create distance between her and Mr. Combs, he used his network to find her and convince her to return to his abuse. On multiple occasions, Mr. Combs sent his employees to lure Miss Ventura back. In 2011, during a rough patch in Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura's relationship, Miss Ventura had a brief relationship with a musician, Kid Cudi. When Mr. Combs returned from a trip, he demanded another freak off from Miss Ventura's. She acquiesced. What's that word mean? Oh, acquiesced. And she acquiesced. During this freak off, Mr. Combs found Miss Ventura's phone and found emails between her and Kid Cudi. Mr. Combs became enraged and proceeded to place a manual corkscrew between his fingers and lunged at Mrs. Ventura. What the fuck? Miss Ventura ran away to stay at Kid Cudi's home to escape Mr. Combs' wrath. Soon thereafter, one of Mr. Combs' staff members told Miss Ventura that he needed to talk to Mr. Combs, even though Mr. Combs was enraged. Feeling like she could not escape Mr. Combs and his network of enforcers, Miss Ventura returned to Mr. Combs. He hit her several times and then kicked her in the back as she tried to run out the door. I feel like beating this nigga Puff ass right now, bro. Like, god damn, bro. She went to her parents' home in Connecticut where her mother took pictures of the bruises Mr. Combs had left on Miss Ventura's body. In February 2012, during the Paris Fashion Week, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. Miss Ventura was terrified as she began to fully comprehend what Mr. Combs was both willing and able to do to those he believed had slighted him. In 2015, Miss Ventura spoke to a popular music manager at an after party in a hotel suite in Las Vegas. Mr. Combs saw her speaking to this manager and sternly told her to step into the bedroom and join in the suite. In the bedroom, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura severely. She ran from the corner to corner of the room trying to avoid Mr. Combs beating and kicking. When she tried to lock herself in the bathroom, he pushed through and punched her and kicked her while she curled up under the toilet. Her screams were drowned out by the loud music playing in the outside area of the hotel suite. Yo, my God, my God, my God, my God. This is Ike and Tina for real. When Mr. Combs had a security and assistant saw Miss Ventura after the assault, they began to cry. Damn. Miss Ventura had 2 black eyes, a burst and a bruised lip, and a huge welt on her forehead. Yo, my God. Yo, oh, he make a nigga want to steal on his punk ass. Upon seeing the results of his vicious attack, Mr. Combs immediately took the steps to conceal his wrongdoing. He forced Miss Ventura to stay at his home in Holmberry Hills along with one of his sons. While there, Mr. Combs FaceTimed Miss Ventura and stated, "You got to get up and put more makeup on. My son can't see you like that. She did put makeup on per Mr. Combs' demands. Miss Ventura felt that she had no choice but to obey her abuser. Even though security guards, assistants, and friends saw the situation she was in, no one dared to help or speak up on her behalf. She therefore had no choice but to remain silent, subsequent. In 2015, later in 2015, while shooting a movie in Cape Town, South Africa, Miss Ventura began a flirtatious relationship with an actor. She spent New Year's Eve with this actor, but Mr. Combs soon found out. Mr. Combs called the actor and threatened him. The actor proceeded to call Miss Ventura and tell her, "You really need to call Mr. Combs." In around March of 2016, during the freak-off at the Intercontinental in Century City, Los Angeles, Mr. Combs became extremely intoxicated and punched Miss Ventura in the face, giving her a black eye. Jesus Christ! Cassie, when was you going to leave? This is where women going to blame you, sister. After he fell asleep, Miss Ventura tried to leave the hotel room, but as she exited, Mr. Combs awoke and began screaming at Miss Ventura. He followed her into the hallway of the hotel while yelling at her. He grabbed at her and took a glass vase in the hallway and threw it at her, causing glass to crash around them as she ran to the elevator to escape. She managed to get in the elevator, and when she got to the lobby, quickly took a cab to her apartment. Upon realizing that her running away would cause Mr. Combs to be even more angrier with her and completely stuck in his vicious cycle of abuse, Miss Ventura returned to the hotel. What? With the intention of apologizing for running away from her abuser. When she returned, hotel security staff urged her to get back into the cab and to go to her apartment, suggesting that they had seen the security footage showing Mr. Combs beating Miss Ventura and throwing the glass at her in the hotel hallway. Oh shit! They got him. They got him. They still got that video. They got his ass. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs paid the Intercontinental Century City $50,000 for the hallway security. Oh shit!